Hey there, we are live from Midtown Comics. I am Henry, and I'm here with writer Greg Pak.
Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're here to talk about his brand new book from Boom Studios, Cadet U. A really cool new book. Greg, what brought Cadet U to life?
Well, years ago, I made a movie called Robot Stories. I started off as a filmmaker. I went to NYU, made a bunch of short films, made a feature film called Robot Stories, which was an anthology picture made up of 4 stories, basically about love, death, family, and robots. So I had a bunch of different robot stories in my head around that time, and I just had this idea of a story about a kid and his giant robot. Specifically, it was a story about a world in which giant robots, it's almost like a fable, like giant robots come every 4 years to the specific spot in the desert and bond with kids, so it's kids bonding with giant robots. And then that kind of grew because I started thinking, okay, well, if then that's happening, then the military would want to get on that because they'd want to be able to make these kids with giant robots part of the military, right? Mm-hmm. So they build an academy on the site and train kids to go out there and meet these giant robots. And then that eventually became the story of this kid, Stanford Yu, who is the underdog kid, the janitor's son, who dreams of bonding with a robot, but of course never will because he's not a cadet. He's just support staff. And then crazy things happen one day, and he gets a giant robot. And so it's kind of like Pacific Rim with a sort of Harry Potter school sort of scenario. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean, with these rival kids in a school. And it's been a ton of fun. But so this was an idea I had years ago. It first became reality with the Shattered Asian American Comics Anthology a few years ago. I contributed to that with artist Takeshi Miyazawa. We did a 10-page story called Los Robos, which was kind of like a little bit like a pilot episode, Mm-hmm. And we always wanted to do more. And then eventually I met Cameron Chittock, an editor for Boom, and he said, "Hey, do you have anything that might be appropriate for Boom?" And I was like, "As a matter of fact." And I pitched him the idea, and I showed him that 10-page story, and he fell in love with it, and here we are.
That's really cool. I mean, I personally love it. I like it because I like that the book very much has an all ages feel. For me, I mean, I got into comics when I was younger, and I definitely think that that's important to kind of have a book that doesn't feel like it's talking down to kids, but it's something that a kid can grasp onto. And I think that's a really cool thing that you're doing here with this book, is that it feels like something anybody can enjoy. Especially, I mean, goodness, we've got so many different things popping up in pop culture right now that are giant robot related. I mean, especially with like the Pacific Rim movies and stuff like that, or even maybe necessarily is there like I know Big Hero 6 was really popular a couple years ago. Did that have any kind of a tonal influence maybe?
Not really. I mean, I had this the tone of this kind of I think that I had a sense of the tone of this from the beginning years ago. I grew up loving giant robot stories and playing with Micronauts, and I was just really into robots, and also to this notion of like a kid bonding with a monster or something huge. I was a sucker back in the day for the My Side of the Mountain, where the kid goes off in the woods and gets a falcon as a pet. You know what I mean? And all these stories over the years of kids with like kids with dragons, and any story with a kid and a big animal or monster friend or robot friend was always really compelling to me, So the kind of feel of this I think was baked in the cake from the beginning. It's one of those ideas that sort of came together almost all together, you know what I mean, like from the beginning. Mm-hmm. But and then when Talk got involved, it really became what it's supposed to become. You know what I mean? It's a true collaboration, and this thing would not be anywhere if it weren't for Tak. Like Tak is the artist, Tak Miyazawa, and he and I have worked together on a million things over the years. We co-created Amadeus Cho back in the day, and Tak is Japanese Canadian, and like me, grew up loving these kinds of stories. I think he's even more immersed in the whole, giant robot genre than I am. And he was just always, I never thought of doing the book with anybody but him. He was the first person who came to mind, and he loved the idea from the beginning. And it's just such a huge thing to be able to work with him on it. But he brings so much to it. Like every robot has its own has as much character as every person. You know what I mean? And it's and that's all because of Tak bringing all that care and love and design savvy and sensitivity to it. Triona Farrell is doing the colors when they're gorgeous because they're really bright and vibrant, but at the same time have these nice degrees of subtlety. So
I'll show off some of the art.
oh yeah, you bet. Yeah, I mean she has really bold color choices, but at the same time, it maintains this naturalistic feel, which I think is really important because it's like we've got everyday people, and our kid's this underdog kid, and the real thrill comes from combining that everyday world with this fantastical stuff.
Definitely.
So
little moments like this, definitely they got me because it made it very human.
Oh yeah, exactly. He's pointing to a bit here with a kid. He's dreaming about these robots, and he's found these little bits of junk, and he's made his own little robot toy. Even though he'll never be able to get a robot, as far as he knows. But yeah, Triona's amazing, and Simon Bolin does the letters, and Simon's another person I've worked with on many projects, and I just love what he does. He's got that kind of sensitivity, and this is it's a fun book, it's a action book, but it's also really a character book, and so having a team that knows how to bring out all those little nuances of character and humor and pathos is just solid gold. So I just love everybody who's working on it.
Yeah, I think it's really fun, and it's really cool. I mean, it's great to see. I think Boom really has put out a number of great books over the last few years that have really done a good job of making it feel acceptable, like easy and accessible for people to get into comics.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly. Because you were talking about like kid stuff. And that was definitely a goal of mine, was to write a comic that I could give to any kid who walked up to my table. You know what I mean? It's like I've written comics for 12 years now. I'm in my 12th year of I'm in my 11th year. I don't know. I've been writing comics a long time, and actually no, it's 12 or 13 now. Yeah, no, it's been a lot. I tallied it up. I think I've written 300 comics. And a lot of, but very few of them are comics that I could give to, say, a 7 or 8 or 8-year-old. 9, 10, you start to get into the range where they, but kids love comics, kids of every age, right? And so it's very fun to be able to write something that's compelling to adults. I mean, this is one of the most emotionally compelling books that I've written to myself in a long time. But it's definitely something that, anybody from the age of 7 up can really dig into, 6 up probably. But and hopefully it's the kind of thing where no matter what your age, you're going to get something. You'll get more out of it. You'll get different things out of it at different ages in your life. So, but it's all ages. And I'm thrilled to be doing that kind of book.
Yeah, it's definitely really fun, and I really like that. It feels like it's got a really cool in-depth world right off the bat. Especially, I know that by the time that I reached the end of the series, like the end of the first issue, I felt like I had a good grasp on these characters because, that could be a little bit of a difficult task. It's a new property, it's a first issue and stuff like that. But I definitely like that these characters feel like they have their own voice. And I also like that our lead feels really relatable, and he feels like a unique character. I think that it's also cool because it's great because it's providing representation that otherwise doesn't necessarily exist too often.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. All that's all music to my ears. Thank you. For, I like coming here. No, those are all things that you want to do, right? I mean, you want to be able to. I mean, I love world building, right? I mean, I did Planet Hulk back in the day, and it was the most fun thing ever, being able to create a whole planet, whole world, whole societies and religions and everything else, and that kind of stuff is so exciting. I mean, the danger, of course, when you are so excited about world building is that you go crazy building your world, and then and it's not balanced properly with your character building, and so that's the constant challenge, is to do those things at the same time, so that you're telling a compelling emotional story at the same time you're creating this crazy new world for folks to inhabit, and to have that world for, like, I mean, I think the trick is also for every crazy thing that you do in your world has a point, that it's helping, that it serves the emotional story you're telling, But yeah, I mean, Mechabat is one of those things where it came together bit by bit, with that initial, based on that initial idea of, these mysterious robots coming every 4 years to bond with kids, and then it built gradually, and each new element that came in made sense, and we built it out, and my editors at Boom have been fantastic. Cameron Chittock and Eric Harburn, they're just great. They ask the right questions, and the scripts get better. And I just have really loved working with them. It's been a really great process. Like they'll, they just love the material from the get-go, and then they're just helping me make it what it can be. And that's where you want to be. You want to be with people who get it, and then are gonna poke you a little bit, ask the right questions, and make you say, oh yeah. We need to clear
Now, with all that in mind, you've been gestating this for a while. It's been taking a while. Do you have long-term plans for this? Is this going to be something that's like a brief little 4-issue? You're saying world building. Do you have a full world? Is there something like some big epic coming with this?
Yeah. Well, yes. So we've got 4 issues now. If it does well enough, hopefully we'll be able to do more. I have an outline that's 12 issues long. So I've got like a kind of a 3-part story, which, knock on wood, we'll be able to do. So, but it all depends on you, my friends. Please buy it. Please tell the whole world. Yeah, I mean, these are characters that I'd love to write these characters for years. And I'd love to play in this world forever. I mean, it's everyone. You work on projects, and every once in a while, everything just clicks right. You know what I mean? And I think this team is it's exactly the right team, and it's coming together and it's as much fun to work on the book as it is to get it out in the world. I mean, sometimes you have a lot of fun working on a book, and it might not be that, it might not actually work. You know what I mean? It might not be but like it feels right. So I'm hoping that it resonates with folks, and I'm hoping people, pony up the bucks and call their comic shops and make some noise, and we can do more.
Well, that's great. Now, obviously, Mechabat is a really cool book. We're excited to have it. I mean, we've got it online and in our stores. But this is also a big week for you because you've got another book coming out this week. You kick off the Marvel Generations storyline this week with the Generations Hulk, which we happen to have right here.
There you go. Look at that.
So that's pretty cool. How has it been working on Generations?
It's been fun. I mean, this is it's a big. I mean, this particular story, it's just about the Hulks, the Bruce Banner Hulk and the Amadeus Cho Hulk, coming together, sort of for the first time both as Hulks. We've seen, like the setup. A couple of years ago, Amadeus decided that Bruce had a hard enough life, and it was time to cure him. You know, and of course, and it was at a time when Bruce had totally lost control, and the Hulk was melting down. Amadeus, being a 19-year-old super genius, billionaire, really cocky, thinks he knows everything, decided it would be awesome to take on the power of the Hulk himself, become the Hulk himself, because he's going to. Totally awesome. It would be, as a matter of fact. And so now 2 years into that, Amadeus has had all kinds of adventures and has learned it's actually not quite so easy being the Hulk, and there might be a little more monster inside than he ever anticipated. And so now he's finally coming face to face with Bruce Banner as the Hulk. Bruce, spoiler alert, a while back Bruce was killed. The Hulk is technically dead, or Bruce is dead, but in this book he's not. Why is that? You have to read it and find out, and keep on reading. But it's I mean, in a lot of ways it's a character piece. You know what I mean? It's a chance for these two folks to come together, and Amadeus is in a state where he's in this transitional state. He's trying to figure out what the heck's going on, and where he's going, and what he needs to be doing, and who better to talk to than Bruce Banner. It was a lot of fun to work on. Hope people are gonna dig it.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. I like that it very much feels independent from other books. You don't necessarily have to have this deep knowledge of the Hulk. I mean, obviously, you put in a lot of thought to it, but I also like that, if you're somebody who's maybe less familiar with the Hulk or maybe hasn't read anything with the current status quo since the transition to Totally Awesome, I feel like this is also something that you can jump in with fairly easily.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the objective, right? Like, you want to write, I can't remember, a million people have said this first, but I can't remember who I last heard this from, but, you want to, every comic is somebody's first comic, right? And we work in a medium where it's serial storytelling, so that becomes a very hard thing to manage. You know what I mean? Because everything's in the middle of a decades-long character arc or story arc. So it's very hard sometimes to make things easy for new readers to plunge in. And you want to keep things meaty for people who've been following the story a while, right? As well. But at the same time, you're always trying to make these things as easy as possible for folks to dive in. So that's something I'm always trying to do. I hope it works for folks. Yeah.
Well, I also know that obviously in terms of approaching a character, a lot of people are exposed through the movies and stuff like that. Now we're very excited for Thor Ragnarok, that it looks like it's pulling a lot of threads from your original Planet Hulk books, which is, I mean, you got to be pretty excited about that.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, just a few years ago, a couple of things have happened over the years. I mean, Amadeus Cho, who Tak and I co-created back in the day, has shown up on television and TV shows, animated shows. And then his mother, Helen Cho, showed up in the Avengers movie, or at least a person with his mother's name. So who knows what that will lead to. And then, I think in Guardians of the Galaxy, they mentioned the Sicarians, and and Sakaar, of course, is the planet that the Hulk gets exiled to in Planet Hulk. And I just made up that name. I mean, you know what I mean? Like one day I was like, what's a cool name for a planet? It's like, Sakaar, let's do that. And so it's kind of weird, like just you're sitting in your living room on the couch trying to come up with a cool name for an alien planet, and then 10 years later it shows up in a movie. I mean, it's a little bizarre, right? But now it's even more bizarre because you've got, this central premise of the Hulk fighting, on an alien planet in a gladiator ring, and that's a big part of this Thor movie, apparently. Even more crazy is that there are a couple of characters that we created for the Planet Hulk storyline, including Mech, this insectivorid sort of sidekick character, and Korg, who's a big stone man warrior from. They're also apparently in the Planet Hulk movie, and apparently the director himself voices the character of Korg. So,
oh, really?
Yes. So all that's just it's kind of mind blowing. I don't know any more than you guys know from having seen clips online and reading articles and stuff. I don't have any special inside knowledge, but.
You're probably following the news pretty close.
Yeah. No, it's a thrill. So that's exciting. I mean, the other really exciting thing about it is that because of the, because of this movie, Marvel approved a prose novel of Planet Hulk, and I got hired to write it. So I wrote a novel, which comes out in October. It's the Planet Hulk prose novel, and it's awesome.
That's cool.
I'm really, really proud of it, and I'm not up for false modesty. I think it's awesome. I try to be appropriately modest, but I'll just be inappropriately immodest right now and just say it's really good, and I hope you get it. It's my first novel.
That's cool.
And if you dug the Planet Hulk storyline, you're really you don't want to miss this, because we're able to dig deeper into certain areas and shed new light on some characters and do some surprising things, actually. So don't you dare miss it. I think that comes out in October.
What's also really cool is I know that you have coming up as part of the Marvel Legacy banner is that you'll be doing Return to Planet Hulk as well.
Yeah, that's right. So Amadeus Cho is going to get spirited off to Planet Sakaar for a storyline called Return to Planet Hulk. It starts in, I forget the month. It's October. It's October. Okay, cool. And Greg Land is drawing, and it is astounding. I've seen the art. I think the whole first issue is drawn. I think he's working on the second issue now. And if you dug Planet Hulk, I think you're really going to dig this. It's a different story, like we're trying to do, like we don't want to go back and do the same story, of course. The basic premise is that, I can't spoil too much, so I'm not going to tell you everything, but during the course of Planet Hulk, if you remember, the Red King was the big tyrant, and they would talk from time to time about the war on Philia. So this Red King has this ongoing war on another neighboring nation or state. So in Return to Planet Hulk, the storyline actually takes place on the other side of the planet, in Philia. So, and this is a land that's been bombed to hell by the Red King for however many years or decades, and so it's this kind of insane, ripped up post-disaster landscape where you've got these different alien clans, nomadic, driving around on souped up war machines, and it's good fun, post-apocalyptic fun, and Amadeus gets thrust into the middle of all this, and of course this is also at a time when Amadeus is having his biggest struggles with the monster within. So take a kid who's scared of this monster inside of him and put him in this incredibly dangerous scenario, and sparks will fly.
Well, that sounds really cool. Well, Greg, thank you so much for coming by. We've got really some wonderful books to enjoy and a lot of things to look forward to, it sounds like. For everybody who's here watching us, please check out Mechabat U from Boom Studios. Super cool book, really fun. You will not be disappointed. And of course, we've got Marvel Generations Hulk as well. So thank you, Greg, so much for coming by.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
And we'll be talking to you guys soon.